You're tuned to Planet Vera Radio. I am Cindy Schwartz. We are broadcast on iHeartMedia and also podcast on Spreaker. This is the Patient Partner Show. I've got my co-host Jeannie Roller on live stream with me from Indiana. Today we are talking about the killing case, the horrific case in Tulsa, Oklahoma about the patient that had the back surgery that was in tremendous pain and went in and killed the surgeon and then other people in that office. And, so we want to bring that out and say, we don't know. I mean, I would love to know as a harm patient myself what exactly went on in that instance on why that patient thought that his only out was to go in there and shoot people and to take it out on the surgeon. Jeannie, you and I were talking before we went on the air here about this. I know in my own personal instance, I was just so shocked, hurt, mortified. What other word? Angry. Yeah, angry. Just, I was beyond comprehension that a doctor would treat me the way my doctor treated me for lung cancer surgery, and I just reeled from it. I mean, would I personally go into an office and get a gun and all of that? No, I wouldn't do that. But I can see how people just get to the end of their rope. And I'm not condoning any of it at all. What's the answer? I mean, doesn't this now show another time, another way that there are things that are wrong in the medical industry, in the healthcare industry, and that things that need to be addressed? To relegate this, it's just one guy. It isn't just one guy. We don't know. I mean, there's so many people. No. How many have we talked to, Jeannie, that are harmed and have been retaliated against? I can see someone snapping and doing something like this. Is it rational? No, I don't think it's rational, but I think it's realistic that it could happen in more than one instance. It's just, I don't know. What are your thoughts, Jeannie?
Well, that's my thoughts, but I'm afraid that rather than looking into what the real issue is, patient harm, they just chalk it up to another gun crime. And it really isn't a gun crime because something made this otherwise nice man do something so horrible. So, they really need to look at this carefully because there are so many patients being harmed and it gets ignored. I mean, was this man given true informed consent? Did something go wrong with the surgery? Was the doctor blowing him off and not addressing his concerns? I mean, there's so many things that went through my mind of what made this man do what he did. And to me, they're just not looking into why he did it, just that he did it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I totally agree with you. I also agree with the school shootings, too. I mean, I'm going to bring this up, and this happened many, many years ago. But do you remember when everyone said, the guy's going to go postal, because there was an instance in a time frame where people were going into post offices with guns and just shooting up whatever because of different things that happened at work and blah, 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 blah. And that's how they saw to get, alleviation or whatever you want to label it. So, I mean, it got to a point where it was fodder for a lot of jokes. He's going to go postal. But at the end of the day, what actually was the reasoning behind that? And I want to thread that to now the shooting of the patient and the surgeon, and also for these school shootings. I mean, the people are going back, I think. Let's delve into the shooter's background. I'm not condoning the shooter, certainly not at all. I mean, it's horrific of what happened to these children in each one of these instances, and certainly teachers don't deserve to be gunned down either. But what's the catalyst? Because there is one. It's not that the gun is available. Yes, the gun is available in all these instances. It's the fastest thing to do the most damage the quickest. I don't think anyone's going to argue.
That in a car.
Huh?
That in a car. We saw that. That in a car. We saw that up in Wisconsin. That a car can do just the same amount of time.
Okay. All right. I stand corrected.
But the thing that I see is the health system is failing in many different ways. Our mental health system has failed so many people. Some of the drugs, and that was the thing with some of the postal workers, where they were taking certain mental health drugs, and it was making them go to the term postal because the drugs was altering their minds. So our mental health system is in the sewer, and our physical health system is right down there with it, because when it does harm patients, there is no recourse for those patients who are harmed.
Right. I remember just last week watching a little bit on one of the major news shows, and they were interviewing specifically about this school shooting in Uvalde, Texas. And it was a psychologist that was up there. And I don't mean to be mean or anything like that. And the person said, well, if people have these kind of problems, they need to go and get help. Okay, so you and I both know that isn't possible in a lot of instances. I know that as a personal fact, that there are barely any places that you can get that kind of help, that kind of mental health. Certainly, my town here, I know it for a fact. I've interviewed so many people about the stuff, and I'm just appalled at the money that is thrown at these places, and there really, at the end of the day, is not any mental health. And so I'd have to disagree with that person that was on the national news saying that okay, go ahead and just get yourself fixed up, because it's just not. We know that it's not possible. This whole mental and physical health care needs complete addressing, and what is it going to take? How many more people are going to be killed? Because the shooters themselves are human beings, I'm sorry, before the act of what they did. And how were they lost in the systems? Because they were. Somehow, some way, things have gotten lost, gotten skewed. The person didn't get help. I want to say that maybe, I don't know what the percentage would be, and this is my own opinion, of people that you absolutely cannot help. But I think that data is pretty slim. I think most people you can help to get to a next phase or whatever, and not to have this happen. These kind of shootings, and it's just horrible. It's just absolutely horrible.
It is. It is. I mean, as long as we put all the blame on a gun, we will never solve this problem.
Yeah. I agree with you. I mean, that, in my opinion, absolutely. I mean, do I personally think, and I don't want to get involved in all of that certain kind of weapon you shouldn't be available to blah, blah, blah. Yeah, I think a lot of those things do need to be addressed, but that's not the issue. It isn't the issue at the end of the day. It's not about, the gun is not pointing its own trigger and buying all the bullets and everything. It isn't. And there's a reason why people are doing this.
Right. And we do need to find out why.
Right.
I mean, that's the only way to fix it, is to find out what is going on.
Right.
And I think that no one wants to find that out, because as it stands right now, medicine is big money.
Well, there's so many lobbyists and everything. I mean, honestly, do you think Nicholas Cruz here in Parkland woke up one day and, that there wasn't, I'm going to say, years of things that had bullying, blah, 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 that had gone on to make him snap? Was it medication that he was taking that it wasn't working? Let's get to these stories. I never hear any of those stories.
Well, Cindy, I come from school background, so yes, I know that bullying, and I've talked to students that have been victims of just really horrible bullying.
Yeah.
And they say the same things. Luckily, none of them have done anything about it.
Yep.
But our educational system needs to take a look at what's going on in these classes to create these young people.
Mm-hmm. And it goes back to what happens in the families. I mean, was the mother and father abused, when they were kids? It goes on and on. It's cyclical. I mean, it totally is. If you don't stop it, if someone doesn't care, I mean, at the end of the day, people just want someone to care about them, and they don't want to be this victim. And when something happens, and we've said this before so many times, people make mistakes. But when you are the victim of that mistake, it needs to be righted. It doesn't need to be thrown under the covers and say, well, that didn't happen. On that note, stay tuned to Planet Vero Radio.